In this video, we are going to discuss about bonding in carbon, the covalent bond. In the last chapter, we studied that ionic compounds have high melting and boiling points and they conduct electricity in molten or liquid state. But carbon is a poor conductor of electricity. Carbon compounds have low melting and boiling points, and we know that and we studied while we were going through the chapter acids, bases, and salts. Now let us look at the table below. In this table, we have the melting and boiling points of some compounds of carbon. Example, acetic acid, chloroform, ethanol, and methane. These are the compounds. And the melting and boiling points are as follows. For acetic acid, the melting point is 290, boiling point is 391. Chloroform, melting point is 209 and boiling point is 334. Ethanol, melting point is 156 and boiling point is 351. Methane, melting point is 90 and boiling point is 111. And all of these are in Kelvin. We can observe one thing, that is, all the melting and boiling points are very low. Hence, the forces of attraction between the molecules is very less and can be easily broken. The bonds are not so strong. They are non-conductors of electricity and do not give rise to any ions on dissociation. Now let's look at carbon. Here we have the electronic configuration of carbon, that is 1s2, 2s2 and 2p2. Atomic number 6 and valency 4 that we already know. We know that the reactivity of the elements depend on the tendency to attain the nearest noble gas structure by completely filling the outermost shell, that is, obtaining an octet. Usually, ionic compounds lose or gain their electrons to attain the nearest noble gas structure by either forming cations or anions. But what about carbon? What will it do? Let's assume carbon gains 4 electrons forming C4- anion. It's difficult for the nucleus to hold 10 electrons. Why? Because the nucleus of carbon with 6 protons has to hold on to 10 electrons, that is 4 extra electrons, which is very difficult and obviously carbon can't do that. So let's see another case. We'll assume that carbon loses 4 electrons forming C4 plus cation. Again, it requires a lot of energy to lose 4 electrons, leaving 6 protons holding on to just 2 electrons that are left. Again, which carbon cannot do. So what will the carbon do now? That's the big question. This is when carbon implements a master plan, and the strategy is carbon, instead of losing or gaining electrons, it shares its valence electrons with other carbon atoms or elements. So, it doesn't lose, it doesn't gain, it just shares electrons. Now, by sharing, both the atoms will attain the nearest noble gas structure or the octet. We will represent the shared electrons or the valence electrons that have been shared by different elements or atoms by Lewis dot structure. What is a Lewis dot structure? The Lewis structure was named after Gilbert N. Lewis, who introduced it in his 1916 article, The Atom and the Molecule. Lewis structures extend the concept of the electron dot diagram by adding lines between atoms to represent shared pairs in a chemical bond. We usually represent this with dots or crosses to represent valence electrons, and this particular method is called Lewis dot structure. You can see the Lewis dot structures here. See, they're represented by dots, and these dots are valence electrons. For an example, hydrogen has one valence electron, so it is represented by a single dot. Carbon has 4 valence electrons and hence they are represented by 4. So we will learn how to draw Lewis dot structures in the coming slides. Well, this method is not just followed by carbon, that is, sharing of these electrons is not just followed by carbon, but it is also followed by others. Let's take the example of H2. What does dihydrogen do? So this is a H2 molecule. So this is one H and this is another H. So this is a dot which is the valence electron of one H. So this is the dot or the valence electron of the other H. So in this diagram, so these electrons are shared by both the hydrogens. So this hydrogen along with its electron, it will share the other electron of other hydrogen and forming a bond. The same is done by the other one. It is also sharing the other electron from the hydrogen. So both of them join together to form a bond, which is a single bond, forming H2, that is dihydrogen. So this is how you plot a Lewis dot diagram. Similarly, we'll also take the example of O2. So here, this is the example of O2. So when you see O2, O2 has 6 valence electrons. That is, you represent it with 6 dots. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These belong to one oxygen atom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These belong to one oxygen atom. So both the oxygen atoms need 2 more electrons individually. So one oxygen atom will share another 2 electrons from other oxygen. The same is done by the other oxygen too. So it will also share the 2 electrons from other oxygen forming bond. But here it is a double bond because it is sharing electrons and forming 4 electrons are being shared, which forms 2 bonds. So basically a single bond contains 2 electrons, but here since 4 electrons are shared, it forms double bond. Similarly, if we take a water molecule, what does it look like? Will it have single bonds or double bonds? Let's just check. See here, we can see oxygen surrounded by 6 valence electrons, while hydrogen with 1. The same with this hydrogen too. Now both the hydrogens will move towards oxygen and form a bond. But how does it actually happen? Oxygen having 6 valence electrons will share electron by taking one from hydrogen and also another from another hydrogen, forming an octet. Now what does the hydrogens do? The hydrogens also do the same thing. They share one electron from oxygen and form a bond individually. So this hydrogen will share one electron and form a bond. This hydrogen also will share one electron and form a bond. So that's how water molecule is formed. Now also see the dot structure of N2. Nitrogen has 5 valence electrons surrounding it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are the valence electrons of this nitrogen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the valence electrons of this nitrogen. Now, this nitrogen having 5 valence electrons will share 3 from the other nitrogen. The same thing will be done by the other nitrogen. This nitrogen having 3 valence electrons will share 3 from the other nitrogen. And since 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 electrons are being shared, it forms a triple bond because a single bond contains 2, but here it is sharing 6 electrons, hence 3 bonds, which is a triple bond. Now let's check with dichloride, that is Cl2. So Cl2 basically has 2 chlorines and each chlorine is surrounded by 7 valence electrons. So both the chlorines need just one more electron to attain the nearest noble gas configuration. So this chlorine will basically share one electron from the other chlorine. The same is done by the other. This chlorine will basically share one from the other chlorine to form a nearest noble gas structure or reach an octet. So it is Cl single bond Cl, which forms Cl2. Now let's check with NH3. In NH3, nitrogen is surrounded by 3 hydrogens. So nitrogen has 5 valence electrons, whereas each hydrogen has 1 each valence electron. So to attain the nearest noble gas structure, nitrogen shares one electron from this hydrogen, one electron from this hydrogen, and one electron from this hydrogen, and attains the nearest noble gas structure. Now, what will the hydrogens do? The hydrogens also will do the same. This hydrogen will share one electron from nitrogen. This hydrogen will share one electron from nitrogen. And this hydrogen will also share one electron from nitrogen, forming bonds. And thus forming NH3. And all satisfying the octet. We'll also see the dot structure of CH4, which is methane. It's a fuel and a major component of biogas and compressed natural gas, CNG. It's the simplest form formed by carbon. So when you see here, carbon is surrounded by 4 hydrogens. So this carbon has 4 valence electrons surrounding it, while hydrogens have one single valence electron with each of them. So now carbon has just 4 and needs 4 more. So it shares one from this hydrogen, one from this hydrogen, and one from this hydrogen, and forms an octet. Okay, now carbon is satisfied. What with the hydrogen? The hydrogens will also have to do the same thing. So this hydrogen shares one electron from the carbon. This hydrogen will share one electron from the carbon. And this hydrogen will share one electron from carbon. And the same. This hydrogen will also share one electron from carbon, forming a nearest noble gas structure and reaching to the octet. And they form bonds, which is CH4. All single bonds. And now we are going to discuss about allotropes of carbon. But what are allotropes? Allotropes are nothing but the presence of an element in more than one physical form. Depending on the attachment of carbon to one another, carbon is found in different forms in nature. For an example, diamond and graphite are carbon forms. Here you can see diamonds and also graphite. Graphite is present in pencil nib, whereas diamond we have it in jewelries, rings, etc. So here both diamond and graphite are physically different but chemically similar. Chemically they are made up of carbon, but physically they vary in their properties. For instance, in diamond, each carbon is bonded to 4 other carbon atoms, forming a rigid 3-dimensional structure. Here you can observe the rigid 3-dimensional structure of diamond. Here the dark white spots signify the carbon atoms, and each carbon is bonded to 4 other carbon atoms in the case of diamond. But whereas in graphite, each carbon is bonded only to 3 other carbons, where one is double bonded to satisfy the valency. Graphite is observed in hexagonal arrays in layers. Here you can see in the case of graphite, here the structure of hexagon is observed. And you also can see that the graphite is arranged in layers. Layer 1, layer 2 and layer 3. So graphite is hexagonal arrays in layers. And it is just these purple color circles signify or represent carbons. And these carbons are just bonded to 3 other adjacent carbons, where one is double bonded to satisfy the valency. Diamond is the hardest substance known on Earth. Diamond can be synthesized by subjecting pure carbon to very high pressure and temperature. So when we take a pure carbon and then allow it to undergo through high pressure and temperature, then we actually can produce diamonds. But these synthetic diamonds are small but otherwise indistinguishable from natural diamonds. As you can see here, these are synthetic diamonds, whereas this is a natural diamond. But you cannot distinguish between what is natural and what is synthetic. But there is just a small difference that synthetic diamonds are small when compared to natural ones. Apart from that, nothing is different. Everything is the same. Whereas graphite is smooth and slippery, as you know how a pencil nib is. Also, unlike other nonmetals, graphite is a very good conductor of electricity. You know, nonmetals are very weak or poor conductors of electricity, but graphite is an exception. which is a good conductor of electricity. Fullerenes are other class of carbon electrodes. The first one to be identified is C60, which was arranged in the shape of a football. This is designed by a US architect, Buckminster Fuller. Hence the molecule is named fullerene. And as you can see here, there are 60 carbon atoms, and that is why it is called C60. All the dark and the black ball shaped structures, they signify carbon atoms, and they perfectly resemble the shape of a football. Thank you.